Morning, Les.
Good morning, David.
You just getting very slow in the uptake on these good mornings. I'm just on it.
Yes. So I like to take in my a breath before I actually start.
Oh, you're listening. Wow, that's a thought for me. Anyway, I am talking about a topic. This whole family topic is probably one of the biggest driving forces why I'm doing this. As you know, my mother was a chronic pain patient. She was abusive and angry. And when you are in pain, you are in a bad mood. I mean, and understandably so. And then when you're angry, somehow I think all of us feel somewhat the way that we have the right to express it, whatever we need to do to get rid of it. And unfortunately, families are the closest targets. But you would never talk to a grocery store clerk or the parking lot attendant or a person on the street the way you talk to your own family who you actually care about and love. So we know that humans thrive on connection. The deeper the connection, the better. But the deeper the connection, the deeper the triggers. So and we've talked about this week about how families trigger each other. There's a lot of chaos in families in general, but it's really magnified dramatically in the presence of chronic pain.
Yeah.
And so, one of the rules that we came up with, my nurse and I came up with this, and it's been quite effective, including my own life, is that make your house a safe house. And that means is that where else in this life you need your family for support, love, play, nurturing, which helps your body chemistry to heal. And family is the best place to do that. Yet lots of times it's chaotic. So people trigger each other, whether it's your spouse, partner, kids, each other, whatever it is. Everybody in the house has a right to enjoy their evening at home or whatever it is. So if you get triggered and get upset, take it outside. Make the physical structure of your house safe. And why not? And what I have found out, I was telling Les that there's a nurse friend of mine who would take when her teenager started a fight, she just would send them out to the garage. And it truncated the fights dramatically. Plus, she got to have peace and quiet. Why should she come home from work and hear her kids fighting? Nobody deserves that. Everybody deserves safety. And with triggers, you just have to make a decision stop because they're not rational. They're not going to stop by arguing more about it. You just have to stop. So that's not exactly deep psychological advice. It's more of a structural, just break it up type thing. But it's
Yeah.
worked.
Let's unpackage that a little bit. So one of the things is when my kids have grown up, when they're now 18 and 20. So when they were grown up, especially when they were little, and if there was a slight argument, I'd step in and actually show them how to actually have this disagreement. And we had certain rules about no name calling, no
Right.
fist pumping. And there were no verbal assaults. It was not acceptable. So you get to say is what was wrong, what, why you're so upset, as opposed to, we had to point out step one, what was the action that was done that you felt violated by, or, pissed off at. And then the emotions came in. When people talk about, well, I'm feeling mad. Well, about what? So rules of engagement, and while I agree with you wholeheartedly, there's a part that I think we all are accountable for. Your home is a haven, and part of that is to train people, or I should say, the system. If you're up for it, as I did in my place, is that training really helped. And when they were teenagers, I did not even hear. There was once when my daughter took my son's sweatshirts and he said, "You need to wash it when you use it." And that was he was upset about that. He didn't lose his stuff. He didn't get angry. He didn't rip it out of her. He was very great in his communication. So part of home training and keeping it safe is learning how to communicate with clear intentions. Very often our emotions get really high. So
Right.
step one is having rules of engagement. One of the things with marriages and partners and siblings and moms and dads, regardless who the dynamic is within the home, is verbal assaults like using four-letter words and condescending words. Cutting someone down is not acceptable. So then the second part with that is, right, so if people don't want to listen to the rules of engagement and how to communicate, and when they're upset, you got to take it outside.
Right.
So that's absolutely, I have to agree with you. And the reason I'm sharing this is if you stop for a second, how do you deal with your difficult thoughts? If we try to basically, well, I don't have time for you, just put that shit on and just basically put it aside. Well, what we're doing there is that will come back to haunt you eventually.
Right.
But this is a haven too. So we need to be able to feel safe within. So I really do like that. I think it's a very powerful thing is if someone doesn't wish to be able to calm themselves down or dialogue or communicate in a healthy manner, participate in a safe place, then they need to take it out. Absolutely.
No, you just brought up a great rule, which a lot of things in life I've not done perfectly, but I will say one thing that somehow I instinctively knew, um, that my marriage broke up because of a total burnout, and I don't think any marriage could have survived that. But during those years we were together, we never called each other names ever, not once. Same thing with my son, never called him a name. And you talk to my son, I think I told you the little thing he did on gossip the other day.
Hmm.
Incredible little exposition about how crazy gossip is, how you talk about people, you label them, do all sorts of stuff. So never label them. And I will say I did that right. And I'm trying to think backwards that if there's some altercation, verbal, I think that's really good. The combination of your house is a safe place, and under no circumstances do you lob verbal bombs at anybody. By the way, so I want to go back to what you said a couple of days ago, which I really like, is that you say it's not quintessentialism, but not bad. Is that you choose the way you want to show up? I know you've said that differently,
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially to your family. Somehow, why do you think we can not be our best self in front? You need to be your best self in front of your family. That's who you get to live with tomorrow. I mean, we
Yeah.
look really good for other people, but we're not necessarily looking really good to ourselves, especially, of course, when we're angry,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
and David, we don't do that. And so the term that we use in therapy that I work with my patients and groups and individual is how do you wish to show up every day? And more
Right.
importantly, during the worst moments, during the most difficult moments, audience, is how do you wish to be in that difficult moment? You have a choice. And the reason some of us, and I used to say the same thing, so I just want to appease to the audience here, is I used to believe that, no, what are you talking about? I mean, if someone is pissing me off, I need to let them know, and I'm
Right.
sick and tired of this. Well, when you enter the tirade of that, the game is over. The game is over. You're
Yep.
basically drunk in your thoughts. So one of the things I teach my patients is when you can separate, as David talks about it too, when you can separate from your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, you actually, and how do I do that? Well, that's a skill set that David and I teach. But to stay on par with the topic here is when you are fired up, you should not open your mouth, as David would say, right?
Right.
And so one of the things is that's one. Number two, when you are basically noticing tension rise, you have to figure out your skill set on how to calm yourself down, whether with breath, whether to pull yourself away. And then once you've got some distance from your thoughts and emotions, you'll still feel it. Then you get to kind of engage. Now, here's where I'm going to pause. What we want to do is basically quickly, the moment you notice your physiology calm down,
Right.
then you want to ask yourself, how do I wish to be during this difficult moment? That basically means, do I wish to be kind with my words? Do I wish to be kind of courageous and say, honey, that is really what is getting my height, right? This is what's really pissing me off. So separate, by calming your physiology, then ask yourself this question: how do I wish to be during this difficult moment? That's moving towards a safe haven in your household, as opposed to verbal assaults. In my household, we have an agreement is there is no verbal abuse that's acceptable at any level. Put downs, cut downs, or when someone says, "What's the matter with you?" We don't do that because I don't do that to myself, nor do my kids do it to themselves. So with that said, the haven of your household is also within your household
Right.
here.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's a beautiful metaphor because it really is the same thing. And when you're
Yep.
critical of other people, again, we can't go into this today, is that you're really just saying, this is how I feel about myself. If
Yep.
you're just projecting like crazy. So I have a little saying called no action and reaction. And so honestly, take this one really seriously, and your life will change dramatically really quickly. It's just a simple rule. Do not argue inside the confines of your house. The other thing is when things are really upsetting to you, be nice. Why not?
We have a choice, and that be nice. Just let's pause it for a second. That's a nice entry point here, David. when you act, what David just said, be nice, that's a value-based behavior. And you might go like, what the heck is a value-based behavior? Did I make this word up? No. In acceptance and commitment therapy, we have choices. We learn how to separate from our thoughts and emotions, because when we don't learn to kind of go like, wow, there's something pushing me around. It's something that says, just let him have it. Tell him how long you've been dissatisfied. And what happens is we are leaping from a place of anger. And when we leap from a place of anger during with family members, it tends to end up going downhill fast, like a wagon on fire that goes
Yeah,
downhill.
no, I agree. I mean, I'm going to make a statement that may be a little controversial, but is in the strong is that you never ever. I mean, you need to be angry. You need to feel your anger, experience it, but you never ever, under any circumstances, have the right to take the anger out on somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a tough statement, but you don't, because this
Yeah.
anger is only destructive, and we have to go. We'll talk about this. This is a big topic. And so the thoughts for the day is, make your house a safe house. It's the only place that potentially it can be that safe, where you can go home and reliably relax and enjoy it. If you don't know when the next shoe is going to drop, you never can really relax. So make your home a place of healing and safety. It's an arbitrary rule, but it's doable. Many people have done it. It'll change your life.
Yep.
Thanks, Les. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone. Have a great morning.